chat. Let's start the show.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner. And I'm super excited for tonight's guest because we're going to have a special presentation on today. Now, if you're new to the show, then if you're watching this live, then comment all the way live. And if you're catching the replay later on, comment replay all day. Okay, but you know how we do. On the Happy Hour Show, we are dropping life gems, business gems, all the gems to help you get your life together, okay? So make sure you comment, love, share this video out, okay? Because your friends are going to need this good sauce as well. My name is Lindsey Vertner. I'm a peak potential strategist and transformational speaker. I teach ambitious, busy female entrepreneurs and leaders how to master their mindset and increase their self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline. And if you're tuning in, make sure you put in the comments where you're tuning in from, where you're listening or watching from, and join in the conversation. Put your questions down below for my amazing guests. And make sure that you ultimately grab your drink and join the chat because it's time to get started. Let me introduce my guest, Miss Cedreka Baggett, okay? She has been in the Navy for almost 15 years. She's a mom of 3, and she has a mother-daughter business called Bagge. Cedreka helps moms to build unbreakable bonds with their teens through cooking. Her company sells high-quality chic aprons and cookware, and she offers coaching programs for parents to connect with their kids. Her mission at Bagge is to bridge the gap between generations through cooking and creativity with originality and ingenuity. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight's Happy Hour Show guest, Miss Cedreka Baggett.
Hey.
Hi.
How
are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I am excited to have you on the show. So many different things are going on right now. We're going to have a special presentation. She's going to give y'all a live cooking demo later on in the show. My background's different because I'm out of town visiting my mother in Evansville, Indiana. So my regular viewers, y'all may have noticed a change in scenery back here. So all kinds of things are going on with the Happy Hour Show on today. And I'm super excited. I see folks are already tuning in from all over these internet streets, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Prime. Oh, it's so sweet. Look, they are tuning in. Indiana in the house. Virginia in the house. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, ladies, for tuning in, and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get started. I know that I just gave a brief overview of who you are, your business, and things like that, but I want you to take us back. Tell us, who is Cedreka really? Like, where did you come from? Give us the good tea.
All right. Use some tea. I'm originally from Chicago, South Side Chicago, the hood, Inglewood. That's where I'm from. Okay, and grew up there all my life. I had my first daughter at the age of 17. So I was a young mom, of course. I graduated high school and everything like that. Went to college. And at the age of 19 is when I joined the Navy. I left home and because I was so ready to leave Chicago, and military was something I always wanted to do. And so, of course, to make a better life for myself and my daughter. And my mom took on, guardianship of my daughter. So I was away from home. My first enlistment, I was away from home for over 4 years. I was stationed in Washington State. And I barely went home maybe once a year because during those first 4 years, I deployed 3 times.
Wow.
Because my first deployment was 6 months, Second one was 7. Last one was 9. So I was always going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the first, every year I probably went home once that year and only stayed home for about 2 weeks at the most. So it was hard for me to have that strong connection with my daughter because I was still a kid myself, number one. And of course she was a baby at the time. And so she didn't come move with me till she was about 6 or 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And at the time, still was, it was like being a parent all over again. But this time I was by myself. So I was like, how do I do this? Right. And so at the time I was in a bad place because I was in an abusive relationship and everything like that. I'm still in the Navy. And I brought her into that because she saw, the abuse. It was mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. And it was a place that literally God had to grab me out of in a way I didn't agree with, of course, because it was a situation where I was at work overnight. And mind you, our house I lived in at the time was 2 hours away from the base I was stationed on then. And so I got a phone call at like 8 o'clock at night when I was on the base at work saying that my daughter was left at home by herself.
Oh, no.
By my significant other at the time. So I'm going crazy. I couldn't get there in time because, of course, I'm 2 hours away. So they had to turn her over to CPS, Child Protective Services. Wow. So I had to fight in court. It was a good 6-7 months before I got full custody. Thank God it wasn't, longer like it is for most people. But I fought in court. I had to, plead my case. Of course, I moved. I broke up with that person or whatever. I had to do what I had to do to get my child back. And it was a huge lesson that had to happen for me because I was in a bad situation. And at the time, I found I was pregnant with my son, who was going on 8 years old now. And so it was stressful. It was a stressful pregnant. I got to go back and forth to court, And when I finally got her back, I made the decision to buckle down on my parenting and really find out what I need to do to be a better parent and, just take care of worry about myself and my child only and not worry about, people and trying to be in a relationship that's not healthy for me. And so it was for me to just focus on my child, and that was it.
Yes.
It was a journey I had to take to get to where I am today, which I am very for.
There are two things that I want to point out that you mentioned, because I don't want that to go over anyone's head. But one, there was purpose in your pain. So we'll come back to that one. Because oftentimes in the obstacles and the struggles and the pain that we're going through, we can either be a victim or a victor. But as I can see, you chose to be a victor, and kudos to you for that. And again, we're going to come back to that because that's a whole piece right there. But you mentioned something, and I think it's very crucial because I know that there are a lot of ladies watching the show, a lot of moms watching the show, that you made the choice to leave a toxic situation, a very toxic situation. And I know that sometimes we can get stuck in toxic relationships because we feel obligated to stay in them. Oftentimes, there's children involved.
Right.
Of course, you have the situations where there are no children involved and we're stuck for other reasons. But can you give some advice for those that do have children involved and they know that it's a toxic relationship, but they are fearful to leave or to make the changes that they need to make for fear of harming the children even further? What advice would you give to those moms or dads?
Yeah. Number one, children are a blessing. Okay. And want to put anybody before your kids. Like for me, I don't know what I would do without my kids. I don't know where I would be at without my kids. Everything I do now is kids. So you have to put in your mind that you have a child and you have to think about what through in the situation that you're in. And they're a child, so it's not their fault. And you shouldn't have the situation at all. Even it could be hard to leave that person, but at the same time, you got to do for yourself and for your child, because if you're not healthy mentally, emotionally, your child isn't going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is so true. Oftentimes, we pour into other people and we want to be the fixer of all things. But if we are not taking care of ourselves mentally and emotionally, that overflows into our physical health. And then eventually we won't be around, period, because we've had a mental breakdown or we've had so much physical illness that it causes us to be put in a hospital or, extreme down the line, pass away for some reason. And then we're not able to help anyone at all. So it's so important that we put ourselves first and we remove ourselves from that situation. I know that had to be a scary time for you to make that choice. Like, I've got to do something different and I've got to get out of here. Explain a little bit about what that process looked like for you.
It was hard in the beginning because I was on my own by myself with my child. That was the first time I was by myself with my daughter, raising her by myself. And so it was a struggle that I had to go through and a path that I had to take. So I literally took parenting classes. I read books. Like, I even got, like, in the military, they provide different mentors. So I had a mentor that came to my house and talked to me about different things as far as parenting. And so that's what path I had to take to, be in a better place for me and as a parent and for my daughter.
Amazing. You are amazing. I can tell. I know from what I've known of you already, because we had the pleasure of virtually meeting a few months ago. I just know you are. And then I didn't even know this part about your story. And that only deepens how amazing you are. And it shines through. Yeah. If you are just tuning in, you are watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my very beautiful guest, Mr. Cedreka Baggett, CEO of Bagge, a chic apron and cookware line, which we are going to talk about in a little bit. So, Miss Cedreka, you have been in the Navy for almost 15 years. You have your business and you are a mom of 3. Tell the ages of your children.
My oldest daughter now is 15. She'll be 16 in February. Oh God. My son is 7 and my baby girl is 4.
Is how much?
4 months. My baby girl.
4 months. 15, 7, and 4 months.
Girl. I did not plan that at all. Like, my 2 older kids, their birthdays are a day apart.
Oh, so wow.
My daughter is February 16th. My son is February 15th. And then the baby girl is a miracle child that was very unexpected because her dad was 15. I was in birth control. I had 1 fallopian tube, and there it goes. So,
surprise!
Yeah, I thought I was done, but God said otherwise. So,
so give some tips for the parents that are watching or listening to this show. Like, how did you manage through COVID with a 15, 7, and 4-month-old?
Well, for some reason, I learned that through COVID. I love being at home with my kids. I love it. I enjoy it. And plus, like, with my kids, I'm very honest with my kids, and I tell them to be themselves at all times, and we have open conversations. And it's good to have those open conversations with your kids, especially teenagers, because when they get in the stage of rebellion and stuff like that, which is very normal, it's going to happen. You have to know how to not only be a parent, but you're their mentor, their teacher now, homeschooling, their life coach, everything. So you have to be able to, mentor them and guide them through life. Especially now, this is the perfect time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did you practice self-care? So I know for you, you mentioned that you loved being at home with your kids, but how did you practice self-care during that time?
My most favorite thing to do is work out. That's my self-care.
Not me.
I also do, I read, got to keep my mental stability. I read a lot. I pray. And every once in a while, at least once a month, I do my whole self-care. I always say to moms to turn your room into a spa.
I like that one. Turn your room into a spa. How do you do that?
Put the little scented candles on, girl. Put your Netflix on, movie, whatever. iPad on and have a little spa be your bedroom. So
I love it. I love it. So for those of you parents that aren't able to go to the spa, you can turn your bedroom into a spa. Get your candles, your movies, all your scents, and there you go. Boom. Amazing, amazing. Make sure you are putting your comments and questions down below for Miss Cedreka Baggett, CEO and founder of Bagge, a chic apron and cookware line. And she offers coaching for parents to connect with their teens through cooking. And it is awesome. And if you're just tuning in, make sure that you have your drink ready and put in the comments what you're drinking on, because I think that this is a perfect time to find out exactly
What's in your cup?
It is that time of the show where we find out what our special guest is sipping on, and then she's going to give us some beautiful cup cam. And you at home listening, put in the comments what you're sipping on. And if you happen to not have a drink, then put what you wish you were sipping on. Okay, hashtag no judgment zone. It can be healthy or it can have a little party in it. So, Miss Cedreka, what are you sipping on? What is in your cup?
Well, I have my little fun cup right here. I had this made for me when I was pregnant with my baby girl. Her name is Marley. So on this cup, I have Marley the diva, because she's a little diva. She got all the attitude. And so in my cup, I just have some sparkling juice, because we keep sparkling juice in my house because my mom loves it. We had like 10 bottles for no reason. So I just put me some sparkling juice up in here because I love me some little sparkle.
What flavor sparkling juice is it?
This is like a white grape flavor.
Get your hidden wine on.
No, actually, I didn't do the wine this time. I thought about it, but I'm not gonna get tipsy on the show.
Well, it's okay. Hashtag no judgment zone. But I meant like with the grape flavor and the sparkling juice. So it gives you kind of like the feel of you're having a nice champagne minus the alcohol. See? Mom hack right there. And then give us some cup cam. Hold your cup up closer. Oh, Marley the diva. Cute. Well, today I am sipping on some black cherry lemonade, compliments of Snapple.
Oh my God.
Yes, in a nice Snapple bottle. Let me have a sip. I love all things lemonade. So lemonade is probably like my favorite drink. And then add in some flavors. Anytime I see lemonade on the menu, I'm like, ooh, give me the lemonade. Oh, flavored lemonade. Let me try that one. Let me try that one. And so anytime I see anything lemonade, I'm like a sucker already. Here, take my money, take my money. But then my daughter, she actually sells her own lemonade. Oh, she's out of stock right now. So I had to back up with Snapple. Over here in the comments, let's see. Miss Renette is drinking pineapple hint water. So she's taking a nice healthy flow to her drink. Have you heard of hint water before?
No, I haven't. That's new to me.
Yes. So I think you can buy it at Walmart and Sam's Club. I'm not sure where else, but those are the two places that I've seen it. But it's literally water with a hint of flavor.
Okay, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah, it's called Hint. And then Miss Monica says, I just finished a blueberry smoothie. Ooh, that sounds delicious. I was feeding for a smoothie earlier today, and I went to Dairy Queen to order a smoothie, and they were like, Dairy Queen actually discontinued their smoothie line. What?
That don't make no sense.
I clutch my invisible portals. Like, why would they do such a thing? Mr. Net says, I really wanted a soda, but she's trying to be good. You know what?
I feel you.
We're 2 or more gathered. We're 2 or more gathered. Well, let's get back into this conversation because I know that you have a special treat for us here on the Happy Hour Show. And so let's kind of open up the doors to what that looks like. Tell us how you got into cooking.
Well, I'm a chef in the Navy, so that's how I got into it. The first maybe
simple.
Yeah, but the first maybe like 12 years, I was not into it at all. Like as far as my job, if anybody know Navy chefs, you know, us in the Navy that cooks, I'm gonna be real with y'all. We don't care, okay? Because when we're out to sea for 7 months at a time, and you have to feed 3,000 to 5,000 people, I'm not feeling the cooking. So at the time, I was not like, but I haven't worked in a kitchen for the Navy for over like 6-7 years because I'm more of a supervisor now. I've been in this long, so my love for cooking did not grow till about 2018. Mm-hmm. And the first hint I got from it was my pastor prophesied to me that I was going to have restaurants and all this stuff. And I'm looking at him like, where? Me. It makes sense. So I'm like, and then fast forward, when God gave me the vision to start the apron line and everything started coming together, I'm like, it makes sense. And I've been in continued prophecy after prophecy till now. So it's like, okay. And as I keep going into my cooking, I'm always experimenting. I'm always creating. I'll make up a recipe in my head and be like, I need a piece of paper. I got it. Like, believe it or not, I made this recipe up in my head today. I was like, okay, let's try this.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That is amazing. And see, that just goes to show, because sometimes I often say to my clients when they're looking for that clarity about, you know, I like this, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing in my life or with my business. And I'm like, likely that thing that you keep running from is tied to your purpose. So let's unwrap that and see what that looks like. And so for you, you went from hating cooking to now you love it. You make up recipes. And I heard your cooking was delicious. I haven't got to taste it yet, so I'm a little jealous, but I heard it was so delicious. So what are you going to do special for us today?
So pretty much I did a sweet potato. I don't even know exactly what to call this recipe, the name of it, but I did a sweet potato. And so I'll just lift it up for you guys. If you can see this sweet potato, I baked it. And make sure before you bake a sweet potato, you preheat your oven at 400 degrees and you bake it for a good hour to be, you know, nice and soft. And then I cut it in half and I put it in I took out the sweet potato out the shell and I put it in a bowl. And another thing, here's my little messy bowl right here. Another thing is, I pureed some carrots and mix it in there, because if you guys, if moms, you have any kids like I do that don't like vegetables, you have to find a way to hide it in the food. So like sweet potato is their favorite thing to eat. So I mix it, either you cut it up nice and small or you puree it and do what it do, and they don't know.
Heck.
There you go. Even my son, he's the worst with it. Like, he'll be like, what's in this? I'd be like, oh, it's just this. It's okay to lie. Good cause. So moving on. After that, I mixed it all up. I put almond milk in it and mix it up together. And I put like just a hint of salt and pepper. And then I put it back in its shelled. And then I put shredded cheese on it and melted it here just for a few minutes back in the oven to melt the cheese. And then after that, I'll do it right here. I have some bacon. Put the bacon on here, y'all, so I can show you what it's gonna look like after. And then I'm gonna put some avocado on the top too, because I love avocado.
Oh my goodness. And I wouldn't even I love trying new foods. Sweet potatoes, I love them. I can eat them all the time. Well, I like them in the form of candied yams, but nice and unhealthy. But I wouldn't even have thought to put all of those flavors together. You got sweet potatoes, you got cheese, you got bacon, you got avocado. Wait, so is this the finish, or are there more steps?
I just put the bacon and the avocado on top. Then I put some parsley all over it. You know, if you want to, you could put more cheese on top as well. And so it's very simple, very easy, and it's very good. It's bomb.
You'll have to kind of tilt the camera without falling it off the.
Can you see?
A little bit. Yeah. So it's got sweet potatoes, cheese, bacon, avocado. Like,
Mhm.
I wish I could just take my fork and put it through the screen and then take a little nibble
Yeah,
and try it. Like,
I'm definitely gonna be eating that later.
listen, this is why I can't watch cooking shows because my mouth is all watering and I get angry that I can't try the food that I'm fiending over. Like, I see it, I feel like I can smell it whenever they describe the scents, and
I
I'm
love
looking at it and I'm like, I just want a little nibble, and so I have to like, I can't watch the cooking show.
when I watch cooking shows, I get inspired. I'll be ready to cook right then and there. I'll be like, "Ooh, let's go."
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Over here in the comments, Miss Monica says, I would have never thought of adding avocado. Me either. Me either, Monica. Me either. Angela says, Church Girl CEO. Hey, Angela. And she says, wow. I know, right? Like, I just want to taste it so bad, but I also don't want to make it. So I love food. And look, I'm keeping it real on the Happy Hour Show. I love food. And sometimes I'm fine with cooking, but I hate cooking when I'm being forced to cook, which is every day because apparently our bodies told us we got to eat food to live, but whatever. And apparently kids like to eat every day, but whatever. I'm like, dang, to my husband and my kids, like, y'all want to eat again? Like, please. But sometimes I like cooking whenever I'm excited to try a new recipe. But other than that, like, this seems very simple and very quick. And because I have a lot of different things that I have to do throughout the day, as far as mine and the kids, living life, running business, and all of those good things. Like, I would rather somebody else come to my house, cook all the things that they need to cook, and then just say, dinner's ready. And I do my table. So, Chef Cedreka, can you come to Indiana and cook me a meal or two or three?
Yes.
Over here, Monica says, I think I might be able to do this. Well, make sure that you sign up for the VIP list. You see it right here down across the bottom of the screen, bit.ly/happy update, so that you can stay updated on future episodes. And sometimes my guests share happy hour specials, but you got to be on the VIP list to get those. And if you want the recipe to this lovely sweet potato dish that our beautiful guest has created just for the show tonight, she just came up with it, then make sure you sign up for the VIP list so that you can get the recipe so that you can make it. And I actually am going to try this one because I'm very curious to what it tastes like. And you said it was delicious. And I believe you because I heard all of your creations are delicious. And I'm going to keep saying that because I'm praying for the Lord to send me some of your food without me cooking it. Just put that out there. So let's get back into the discussion. All right. How did you come about as far as mixing your now love of cooking with turning it into a business to bond with your daughter?
Well, me and my daughter together started Bagge, the apron line. She's in performing arts school for visual art, so she's very talented in the sketching and graphic designing and everything like that. So when I came up with the idea, it was literally like 10 o'clock at night. I'm sitting here watching Law and Order, and it was literally like a light bulb went off. And I ran to her room, banged on her door, like, Nia, we have to do this. And so we started creating, and it grew her love for cooking as well. She doesn't love cooking as much as I do. She likes baking more than anything. So we get creative with that together. But it opens up conversation between me and her. Doing activities with teens, it opens up conversation. It builds her life because cooking is a life skill we have to teach our kids. It also teaches financial stability because when your kids go to college, you don't want them to spend money on fast food all the time. You want them to know how to cook. So it really opened the door for us to talk about a lot of things and build our relationship even more. And that's what I love about it. And I enjoy cooking with her and along with my son. And I'm be teaching little baby Marley as well.
That is so awesome. And so it sounds like she came to you with this, and rather than like shying it away and saying, oh, it's nothing, like you fed into her talent. And I think
Yeah.
that's important for parents to
Yes.
do that, because sometimes, matter of fact, let me backtrack a second. How many of you adults that are listening or watching the show right now are living up to the expectations of your parents, or trying to be something of your parents, or they dictated your extracurricular activities, or they dictated your current profession that you're in, or they have something to say about what you do and want you to go in a different direction, but that's not where your heart is.
Right.
I'll wait. I'm sure all of y'all are raising y'all hands at home. Well, not all of y'all, but some of y'all are. And I think it's very important to realize that our children have their own personalities, and we have to guide and feed into what they like to do so that we can encourage their full happiness and not project the things that we desire for them onto them. And so I love that you did that with your daughter, that she loved cooking and she brought the idea to you, and you fed into that and you nurtured that love, and you found a way that you can do it together, and both of you are happier because of that. Like, I can think of somebody right now whose kids are all in baseball, and one of them actually doesn't want to play baseball anymore, and the parent about had a fit and was basically like, nope, you're going to play baseball and nothing else. And like, the kid is miserable. Like, he goes because his mom says he has to go, not because he wants to go. And so I just absolutely love that you are feeding into her talents. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So I just want to go over here to the comments. Miss Renette says, wait till I come to your house, Lynn. She's going to get some food too. That's what she says. So she's going to come into town, come to my house. Then Miss Cedreka, you're going to come over. Then you're going to cook for all of us. Miss Monica says, shaking my head. I know, right? Like, oh, goodness. So I would like for you to share, like, what's some advice that you can give to parents to help them begin to nurture their children's talents that they like to do, and not the talents and desires of the parent?
Right. It's very important, like Lindsey said, to invest in your kids' talent, whatever they love to do. Like, my daughter started drawing at the age of about 9 years old. And at the time when she started drawing, I thought she was tracing for a long time. And until I actually saw her do it. And she got I put her in performing arts school when she was about in 6th or 7th grade. So when you see your kids' talents, you have to maybe that gift, nurture that gift. Is very important, because if you forcing your child to put them into other things that you want them to do, or other expectations that you want them to have, make them stray away further. And that does not help the relationship at all, especially with teenagers. So like, I'm glad I started with her early and to nurture that gift. So like, now when people sees her art, they think it's a full-blown adult that does. It's her, and she's amazing. I'm bragging on my kids. So, but
That's all right.
and now I see it with my son as well. He likes to draw. Like, for some reason, me and my kids are very artsy. And so my son, he likes to draw. So I'm watching his skill grow. And now I'm looking at him like, boy, what you gonna do? what you gonna have a business in? So it's very important, moms, parents, dads, to nurture the gift your kids have. Whatever they love to do, you baby it. Even if it's something that you don't like or whatever you don't want them to do, still nurture it, because it's important to them. That's the most important thing. It's important to them. It's something they want to get in with and learn even more how to do it. So whatever your kid's gift is, you need to nurture it, baby it. And even if it's something you don't want to do, it's still fun, because you guys could be doing it together.
I love that. Excuse me. I absolutely love that. And, you know, we have to accept the things that our children desire to do, because whenever the doctor said I was having a son, and as he started to grow, I was like, oh, yes, I'm going to be a basketball mom. Go cheer at my son's games. Like, you see my son out there? That was my son. Like, go, Tyler. He played basketball for a few years, and then he didn't want to play basketball. And, you know, we still put him in there, like, because, you know, you have those growing pains where the kids, they kind of want to do nothing, but you still got to push them just a little bit. So we did a little bit of push, and he still didn't want to play. So it's like, oh, you serious? Really? And so, no, he didn't want to play basketball. And although he's only 11, and it could always come back around to it. You know, if he doesn't, I have to be okay with my son doesn't want to play basketball. So my dream of being a basketball mom is, and I have to be a video game mom. My son has loved superheroes and video games since the day he even found out what they were. And he's got it honest. And so I have to figure out a way to feed into that as far as, all right, do you want to be a video gamer YouTube, or do you want to be a video game designer? Like, you know, the creative ways that he can use what he likes to do for his growth and just help pour into him that way. And so I was like, well, I guess I can cheer at like a Fortnite competition. Do they have those? So we have to be willing to accept our children as they are.
Yes.
So just share a little bit of advice, because tell us about your business. I just gave you two different questions there. So first, tell us about your business as far as what do you do in coaching parents to create those bonds with their children?
Okay, so my parent coaching program, I call it Parental Queens because we are all queens. And so it's a 7-week program, and I go over the step-by-step program of how to build an unbreakable bond with your teen. And so I go over, the first thing I go over is self-care, because moms, we forget to take care of ourselves first. And so in order to take care of your household, you have to take care of yourself first, because if you're not doing that, nobody else is going to be good because you're not in a good place. And so I go over that first, and I'll go over also the listening and communication. I go over listening first because I think if you have good listening, good communication will follow. And also go over respect, having emotional support to your teen. And the last thing I do is a cooking class, a virtual cooking class where you get together with your teen and I teach you guys to be together.
I love that. Okay, so you mentioned listening, and this is a very key component, because a lot of times we can hear something, but that doesn't mean that we're listening to what's being said. Mm-hmm. So what are some tips that you would share with parents on how to improve their listening skills with their children? Because again, these are two different people, and oftentimes we don't realize that there are two different ways of listening, two different ways of communicating, you know, and at different levels at that. So what are some skills or tips that you would share to improve listening skills?
Okay, so to better your listening, of course, you have to listen. And so for your teen to know that you're listening, you have to reiterate what they're talking about so they know that you're actually hearing what they're saying, instead of just sitting there and listen to them talk the whole time and not have any positive feedback or input into what they're saying. So that's the way to listen, and that's a better way to reiterate to them as well that you are actually sitting there listening to what they're saying and not just sitting there just because.
Mm-hmm. I love that you mentioned that, and it's very important that we are taking that time and making sure that we're listening to listen and not listening to respond, because I think that's a big thing between even adults communicating. I can see it today, but between adult conversations, like you're listening to respond instead of listening to what I am saying. And so we have to take that moment to pause, not think about how I'm going to answer what you're saying, or, you know, what can I say to combat or deflect or whatever it is, what you're saying, but being in the moment and truly listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also your kids might say something you don't want to hear, but you just take yourself back, because it's at times like I encourage my kids to be themselves in front of me at all times. Like, I can tell you a laughable story, okay? So
Tell
my
it, girl,
daughter,
tell it.
she's very bold and vocal. Like, I like tell her what it is pretty much. And so one day, before COVID, I pick her up from school, and my daughter, she's an introvert. She don't like a lot of people. So I pick her up from school, how's your day? She get in the car. I'm like, why do you look so mad? And so she talked about this young lady at the school, said she set up my cookies. She called her some names, and she's telling me the whole story. So I let her vent. She used some cuss words. I let her vent. And so, most parents be quick to, pop off of what they're saying. But, I encourage kids to be themselves in front of me, of course, with boundaries, because she's not do that in front of other adults. But when she's in front of me, she feels a type of way, I let her vent, and I'll just be like literally I was driving and I'm sitting there like, oh God. The words that was coming out of her mouth. And so I was like, okay, you good? But the important thing is I let her get it out, and I didn't judge her. I didn't criticize her. I didn't yell at her. I just sat there and listened. I was like, okay. Is your cookies okay? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. If y'all have any funny mom stories, put them in the comments, because these are the moments that we have to share with each other. And even if you are not a parent, I'm sure you've been around kids. Put your funny kid moments in the comments and share this out, because you never know what parent is on your feed that has no clue what's going on over here on this side of the feed. So share, comment, love, and just join in the chat. So the next thing you mentioned, you talked about listening, and then what was your step 2?
It was the self-care, listening, and communication is the one after listening.
Share some tips on how parents can increase and improve their communication skills with their children.
Well, number one, you have to be careful what you say to your kids, because as parents, we lead by example. So they watch everything we do. So you can't be that type of parent that's like, do as I say, not as I do. No, that's not going to work. You have to lead by example. Whatever situation comes up with your teen, whether negative or positive, you have to be able to approach that in a positive manner. And so you can't be ready to just snap at them or whatever, because teens are going to be teens. And one thing is, like, a lot of moms that I find, we forget that we were teenagers once upon a time. We were all teenagers before. So you have to have that understanding that, hey, I was in this place before, or I can relate. And so, take yourself back. So when you speak to your teen about a certain situation, you be more understanding and not judgmental.
Yes, I love that. Because kids, they're just tiny humans, and we have to think about, if sometimes we don't even know how to communicate as adults and express our emotions and what we're truly feeling on the inside, then how can we expect kids and teens and little ones to be able to do that? And oftentimes they have to yield to the rules of an adult. So they don't have that outlet. Like, as an adult, we can just drive off or we can walk off as we please because we're an adult. But as a child, we have to get permission to walk off or to leave the house, or, to be by ourselves. So it's very important. I like that you pointed that out, that it's important to remember that we used to be there once upon a time as well, and understanding those true feelings. So, any last advice that you would share with the parents watching the show on how to truly build that bond with your child?
I would say, have a conversation. Try to have a conversation. I know with like teenagers, it could be a little like, if you don't talk to them often, it could be like weird. Like, okay, no, why are you talking to me? But you have to open up that door for a conversation, even if it's just something small, like, what's going on in your life today. Because believe it or not, even though you live under the same roof with your child, doesn't mean that you know everything that's going on with them. A way I found to be all up in your child's business is to be there for them in a positive way. Because if you just always popping off in this and you want to be in their business, that's not going to help. And so you open that door for communication and you get involved in what they're doing and if they need guidance or anything. And like I said before, we are not only their parent, we're their mentor, their teacher, their coach in life. So that's very important that you just guide them and lead them into the right direction. And so even if you have different expectations for them, even if they go a different route of expectations, that something they want to do, you would be proud regardless because you guided them in the right path.
Mm-hmm. And there's something that you mentioned that I want to point out for those, that it went over their head. But I understand because, I've focused on mindset and the importance of our minds and how that subconsciously affects our personal and professional lives. And so as children, we start to create those mindset and those beliefs on the inside that we grow up to live. And so you mentioned about watching what you say to your children. And I just want to point that out because it's very important that we are mindful of how we speak to our child. If we are constantly critical of our child, they are taking that in, and inner limiting beliefs on the negative side are starting to develop within them that they will carry throughout their life, and will affect their behaviors until they make the choice as an adult to identify what those are and then begin to heal them. So we can't always be criticizing their every move or their every comment, because we have to remember that children think with children brains. And so, for example, let's take cleaning up. Because I'm sure a lot of parents are like, oh, my child doesn't clean nothing. So if your child makes an effort to clean up, sometimes we might have that instinct, well, oh, you didn't clean this good enough the way I would have cleaned it, or you forgot this, or you forgot that. But we have to take a pause as an adult, and rather than point out all the ways that they cleaned wrong or the things that they forgot, first we have to acknowledge and celebrate what they did do. Because in their brain or in their mind, they might have cleaned a whole lot. They might be really proud of themselves by how much they clean or what they clean. And then for you to come and say, oh, but you left out this, or you did this wrong, that essentially just crashes their whole moment right there. And so I know that to be true because in working with clients, we often will go back to the childhood to identify the root cause of our inner limiting beliefs. And it often deals with the caretaker having a critical moment where they felt, disappointed or let down, or like, I put all of my effort into this only for my caregiver to knock it down in one way or another. So being mindful of how we speak, and again, that might have been the best cleaning ever to them. And so just taking ourselves down from that higher adult level and saying, you know what, thank you, I appreciate you for trying. And then give them that grace to grow and improve, but don't just instantly go into criticizing mode.
Right. That was good.
Over here in the comments, Miss Ayingi says, what are examples of being critical? So I'm not sure when your question came through, so I may have just answered that for you. Miss Cedreka, did you have any examples that you would like to share?
Does she mean as far as when communicating? You mean communication? That's pretty much if your teen has an issue, or if they start to be a problem, you have to make, like, as far as discipline, I don't even like to call it discipline, make it a teachable moment. We cannot criticize our teens when they do something wrong. Yes, of course, you have to acknowledge, you have to tell them what you did was wrong. You cannot come at them in a certain way, in a wrong way. You have to make it a positive, teachable moment. So you have to say, like, for instance, they do something wrong at school or something, you have to be like, hey, you did this. You literally have to explain to them what they did, and this is the reason why you're getting this punishment. Like, for instance, with teens, all the technology in the world, this is why you're getting your phone taken or your computer taken or something, and they understand why the discipline or punishment is happening to them, because you sat there and explained it to them. And, it's more of a conversation, or you can, you can give them a choice. What do you think your punishment should be? Give them a choice, so they are involved in their own punishment. And that's a good way to do it as well, instead of being criticizing when they do something wrong or judgmental.
Yeah, and that is just pointing out essentially all the negatives. Whenever you're being critical, that's what you're doing. You're pointing out all the negatives. Think about how we can do that upon ourselves as adults. Like, let's say that we create a product or we create a service, and then we go back and we're looking at it and we're like, that needs change. That's wrong. I don't like that. And we're just very critical of ourselves. So translate that to how we kind of critique and criticize our own things to now projecting it and saying it to a child, where we're essentially pointing out all the negatives. Like, for example, I have a good friend, and she was saying that her father was very critical of her when she was younger and very materialistic. And so as much as she didn't like that, and as much as it hurt her, especially, she had one particular time where she dressed up nice, and she was this exact example, except a little bit different. So she had created this nice outfit, and it was name brand, and she thought it looked amazing, and she thought that her dad was gonna love it and think it was so great. And so she walked out, and instead of receiving a compliment from her father, she received a criticism that said, "Why you got on that? Take that off. You don't wear that. That is not name brand," and something like that. And she said it really crushed her spirit in that moment, because she was excited to share what she had put together, only for her father to just instantly criticize, say nothing good about it. And so we have to think about, how are we doing that to our children today? Because now that she's older with her own children, she said she caught herself doing that same critical thing in a different way. Like, for example, her son would bring home a B, and she would instantly go into, well, why isn't it an A? Why didn't you study harder so that it can be an A, or something like that, rather than saying, hey, great job, you had a B. Like, you put in some great effort. Good job for getting a B, and just celebrating a B, because it could have been worse, could have been an F, right? And then asking him, is there anything that you could have done to improve, or do you think you did well? What do you think you did wrong? So can you see, Ayingi, how that's like a different approach, asking those type of questions? How do you think you can improve? What do you think went well? What do you think you did wrong? Versus saying like, you did this wrong. You did this bad. You should have done this. You should have done that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll see if she's in the comments. Oh, here's another question for you, Miss Cedreka. Miss Cynthia says, what are the challenges, if any, with adopted foster children, grandparents suddenly raising grandchildren?
That's a big adjustment. I could kind of speak on that, because like with my mom, when I joined the military, she had to take on the role as a grandmother and mother at the same time. So it was a huge adjustment after already raising her children of her own. We're all grown already. So it's a huge adjustment that you have to take on slowly. You cannot force your intentions or expectations on that child, because they probably had a whole nother life already before they got into that foster home. And so it's a big adjustment for them, number one, because they're in a whole new place and they don't know if they can trust that foster parent or whatnot. But like as older people, grandparents, it's a big adjustment for them, because they're starting all over at an older age. And so it takes going slow and opening up that communication as well. And first listen to them, because it'll open the door for them to listen, for them to speak to you about what they've been through in their life and what they went through before, for them to start trusting them as well.
I love that. That goes right along with those 3 keys that you pointed out earlier. If you just want to repeat those for those that are just tuning into this show, about those steps that you walk parents through with creating that bond, because I think that would be helpful in a situation like this, because that's a whole other challenge, taking on a child that was previously raised by someone
Right.
else in some form or fashion, which means they, like you said, are coming from a whole different life, and they likely had absolutely no say in whatever has happened, and now they're dropped in your life. So
Yeah, and
share
of course,
those again.
I just I just remembered, I had to, nurture that as well, because when my daughter was in foster care, I had to build that trust back up with her when I got back custody of her, because I, as even though I was not the one abusing or anything to her, but I was in an abusive situation. At the end of the day, I'm the parent, so having her go into a foster home was very hard for her, because she's used to being with her mom all the time. And so when I got her back, I had to nurture that and rebuild that trust and that bond.
Yes. This has been awesome. If you are just tuning in, you are watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my very lovely guest, Mr. Cedreka Baggett, chef and CEO of Bagge, a chic apron line. She has gave us a mini cooking demo right there. Go ahead and show that up on the screen again.
I'm gonna be eating this right after.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So nice and healthy, but
Yes.
still has all the flavor. And if you want the recipe too, that actually you didn't come up with the name for that still, right?
I still, because I like to come up with different names for my recipes, so it's gonna come to me. Don't worry. 'Cause I literally did it today.
Listen, if y'all have any suggestions for her happy hour creation, then put them in the comments of what she can call them. Remind them the ingredients that are in there.
So I mixed the sweet potato with, I pureed some carrots as well, for you moms that's just coming on listening. I pureed carrots in it because my kids don't like vegetables. So I have to find ways to hide vegetables in the food that. So, and of course it blended in well with the carrots. You can't tell. And so I put a little almond milk, a little salt and pepper. I love almond milk. And so I mixed that all together, and I put it back in the potato skin, and put melted cheese on it, and then put the bacon, the avocado, really good. So it all came together very good. And you can also eat the potato skin. Potato skin is good, has a good source of fiber and a lot of antibiotics. That's good for your gut.
Hey, well, listen, y'all heard it. So if you have a name suggestion, put that in the comments, and hurry, don't take all day, because she's still working on the name in her head. So she might like yours before she comes up with her own. And if you want the recipe, make sure you sign up for VIP updates at bit.ly/happy updates. And I know that you have a special for all of the parents watching. So go ahead and tell them about that.
Yes, my parent coaching program called Parental Queens. So if you need to book a call, you can book a free strategy session with me to go over your goals for you and your teen's relationship, and I can help make those steps over the phone call, and it'll be the best choice you ever made.
Yes. And for all of my audio listeners right now, you can get your free parenting strategy session at www.theparentalqueen.com/booked. That was www.theparentalqueen.com/booked. For all of you that are watching with your eyes, you can see it right there on the screen. And then also make sure you follow Miss Cedreka Baggett. You see her info, www.baggeaprons.com. That's BAGGEAPRONS.com. And follow her on Instagram at Bagge_LLC. So, Miss Cedreka, do you have any final words that you would like to share before I ask you this last question?
Just I like to be motivational. So I would say this is the year of 2021. This is the year of abundance in life, abundance in wealth. Don't be scared to step out of your comfort zone. Do the gift that God put before you. Walk in your gift, walk in your purpose, and Yes, ma'am.
So, this final question I have to ask all of my guests, because I am all about living a first-class life. That means you are intentional about the quality of life that you are living and creating for yourself. You are intentional about shedding away all of the mask of fear, of doubt, of the expectations of others, and you walk boldly and unapologetically in who you are, flaws and all. And so, I have to ask you, how do you intentionally create happiness in your life?
It was one day when I woke up one day and I said, there has to be a change. So you have to change your surroundings, change who you surround yourself with. People, 2020 was the year of cutoff season. Okay. You got to do that for your mental health, your physical health. You have to cut certain people off, because if you're not getting the same motivation that you give your people, and they don't motivate you the way you motivate them, and they're not about where you're going in life, it's called block and delete.
Block and delete. Block and delete.
Move on in social media for your peace of mind. That's what you got to do. And from there, you wake up every morning with the intention to live life the best way you can, with your intention to be the best parent you can, the best person you can, and stay in prayer, meditation, whatever you love to do, and that's where you get into your happiness.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you. Thank you. That has been it. This is the end of the Happy Hour show with Lindsey Vertner and my lovely guest, Miss Cedreka Baggett. You see her right there. You see her info on the screen. If you want your free parent strategy session, then again, make sure you go to theparentalqueen.com/booked. Other than that, make sure you stay updated on future episodes of the Happy Hour show at bit.ly/happy updates. You see it scrolling right along the bottom. And make sure you tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and some Thursdays. And actually, every Thursday in January, except for the last one, we will be here with another episode of the Happy Hour show. So I'll catch you this Thursday. And if you for sure want to stay updated on the schedule, then again, sign up for VIP updates. And that's how you'll also get the recipe to the lovely creation that Miss Cedreka has created for us live on the show. So with that said, I wish and pray you a very happy and abundant week. Bye, guys.